Everyone was holding their breath. The music had stopped, the guests froze in disbelief, and the bride stood trembling in her white gown. Just moments before she was supposed to say, "I do," her fiancé shocked everyone by stepping back and saying, "I can't marry you." Gasps filled the room. The bride's world shattered in seconds, right there in front of hundreds of guests. Her eyes filled with tears as whispers spread like wildfire across the hall. But then, something unexpected happened. From the back of the room, a man stood up tall, confident, dressed in an elegant suit. He wasn't just any guest. No one knew exactly who he was at that moment, but his presence was undeniable. Slowly, he walked forward and, in the middle of the stunned silence, reached out his hand to the heartbroken bride. The entire room turned to look, unsure if they were witnessing a rescue or another twist. Who was this mysterious stranger? Why did he step in when everyone else just watched? And most of all, what made this quiet gesture turn into something that would change her life forever? What she didn't know was, he was a billionaire. For a moment, she couldn't move. Her hand hovered in the air, eyes locked with the stranger's. The pain from being rejected so publicly still burned in her chest. But something about him felt steady, safe even. The guests whispered louder now, some pulling out their phones, others staring in total shock. Her ex-fiancé stood frozen, unsure whether to storm out or argue. But the man who stepped forward never flinched. He kept his hand out, calm and patient. Like he already knew this wasn't just a gesture, was a turning point. She finally took his hand. What no one at the wedding knew was that this man, dressed in a simple but sharp suit, was actually one of the city's most powerful billionaires. His name wasn't on any of the invitations. No one recognized him, not even the groom. But he'd been there for a reason only he knew. Was it fate? A hidden past? Or something bigger at play? As they stood in the center of the room, every eye watching, questions filled the air. Why was he really there? And why now? The bride looked up at him, confused but drawn in. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. The room still hadn't settled. Guests exchanged glances, some whispering, some filming, unsure whether to stay seated or walk out. The groom's face turned red, not from regret, but from confusion and pride. He stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Who even are you?" he demanded. But the man holding the bride's hand didn't answer. He just looked at the groom once, then turned his attention fully to her, like no one else in the room mattered. She stood, torn. Her heart was racing, caught between the sting of betrayal and the strange comfort of this stranger's presence. Somewhere in the crowd, her mother covered her mouth in disbelief, while her best friend looked ready to run up and pull her away. But the bride didn't move. Her mind flashed back to the signs she had ignored: missed calls, the cold distance in her fiancé's eyes the past few weeks, the way he had been more focused on impressing others than loving her. And still, questions flooded her. Who was this man beside her? How did he know exactly when to appear? Behind those steady eyes was a secret, something he wasn't saying yet. And whatever it was, it would shake more than just this wedding. It would unravel everything. Her fingers tightened around his without realizing it. Like her heart was trying to find something solid to hold on to. The tension in the room thickened. The groom stepped closer, voice low but sharp. "This is ridiculous." "You don't even know him?" he hissed, his ego crumbling under the spotlight. But the bride didn't respond. Her eyes stayed on the man beside her, the stranger who didn't look away, who didn't flinch, who didn't need to explain himself to anyone. Then, just when it seemed the moment would settle, someone from the back called out, "That's Ayan Malik, the billionaire from the East Side Project." The name dropped like a match on gasoline. Heads whipped around. Murmurs rose like waves. Some guests stood up, stunned. Others gasped in recognition. The groom's face went pale. He knew that name. Everyone did. Ayan Malik wasn't just rich, he was powerful. The kind of man who didn't just crash weddings. He moved industries, shifted headlines, and built empires from dust. But why was he here? Why her? Before anyone could process it, Ayan leaned in slightly and whispered something only the bride could hear. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in disbelief. Whatever he said, it changed everything. And the room held its breath once again. Her breath caught. Whatever Ayan had whispered struck deeper than anything said aloud that day. She pulled back slightly, searching his face for answers, but he gave none, just that calm, unreadable expression. Her ex-fiancé looked from her to Ayan, growing restless. "What did he say to you?" he asked. Louder now, but she stayed silent. Just then, a man in a dark suit near the entrance started making his way forward. No one had noticed him before. He walked with purpose, holding a small black folder clutched tightly in one hand. He approached Ayan and handed it over without a word. Ayan opened it slowly, and inside were printed photos, old ones. Documents, letters, evidence. He held up one photo for the bride to see. Her eyes darted to it, and suddenly her expression shifted from confusion to shock. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She looked between Ayan, the folder, and finally her ex, realizing something wasn't just wrong about today. Something had been wrong for a long time. Ayan finally spoke, his voice calm but cold. "You deserve the truth. He wasn't just walking away from you today. He's been preparing for it behind your back, for months." Gasps filled the room. But Ayan wasn't done. And he's been hiding more than just doubts. Things that could ruin you. She stared at the documents, her hands beginning to tremble. In one photo, her fiancé stood with another woman, arms wrapped around her, in a way no cold feet could explain. In another, signed agreements showed her name linked to debts she never took, property transfers she never approved. It all clicked. The distance, the excuses, the sudden coldness. It hadn't been doubt. It had been a plan. She turned slowly toward her ex. "You were going to ruin me," she said quietly, the words heavy with betrayal. He opened his mouth to speak, but no lie could cover this now. Ayan stepped forward, placing the folder on the table. "He used your name to shield himself. The wedding was just part of the cover. If you'd signed those final papers tomorrow, you would have lost everything." The room erupted. Some guests stood in disbelief. Her parents looked horrified. But Ayan didn't wait for applause. He turned to leave like his part was done, but she grabbed his hand, stopping him. "Why did you help me?" she asked, voice shaking. He looked at her, something softer in his eyes now. "Because once, someone saved me when I didn't know I needed it." Then, just as the chaos settled, a voice from the back said, "That's not the only secret he's hiding." Everyone turned, and suddenly, the spotlight wasn't on the ex-fiancé anymore. It was on Ayan. All eyes shifted to the woman who stepped forward, confident, calm, and clearly someone who knew more than she let on. She revealed she had once worked for Ayan years ago, during a time when his empire was still growing. He had quietly helped dozens of women out of financial traps just like this bride's, using his resources behind the scenes, never asking for recognition. "He doesn't just save businesses," she said. "He saves people." Land walks away without a word. The room fell quiet. The bride turned to him again, this time seeing him in a completely different light. Just a billionaire, not just a stranger, but someone who had shown up when it mattered most. Her ex-fiancé left quietly, reputation in ruins, as the guests began to applaud not the scandal, but the strength she showed in standing her ground later, outside in the fading Truvy. Outside in the fading Truvy kiss has the luxurious texture that glides on smoothly and leaves a rich, long-lasting color. As light, she and Ayan stood beneath a tree away from the crowd. She smiled, tears dried now. "You changed everything today," she whispered. He shook his head gently. "No, you just saw what you were worth." It wasn't the wedding she imagined, but it was the beginning of something far more real. Sometimes, being broken in public leads to being rebuilt in the right hands.